Okay, so salam, dear BCom 4933 students. Now, this is final lecture in this class for the remaining of the semester on communication networks in the organization. Now, to understand the dynamic of emergent networks in organizations, we need to understand first the nature of connection among people in an organization. So, in any organization, we need to understand who talks to whom, how often, about what, and how. The reason is that because once you understand the frequency of communication in any organization, you will have a clear picture of the flow of information, internal flow of information from two. Let's say that you own a big company, and that company has many branches. Let's say 10 branches scattered in different cities. The question here is, if you analyze communication networks, you would see like many communication messages, or the frequency of communication takes place from branch A to B. In a week, there are 3 messages, 3 emails, and then from this branch to another branch. And you can look at branches like department within organization, but again, this department, nobody communicates to this department. So basically, that is the power of understanding communication structure in an organizational setting. How people use relationships to cope with bureaucracy. That is another thing. People cope in organization by relying on their network, in their circles. To do that, they have to build social capital. They need to know people from other departments. Now, some people refuse to cooperate with other employees. Why is that? Why some people do not like working with other people in organization? It is due to the past misunderstanding, dislikes, bad experience. So all these dynamics in the organization shape how the entire organizational structure is formed. Take an example of some employees also like to work with other employees, but they don't like to work with other. Some employees like to work with some employees, but do not like to work with other employees as well. So if we go back again to the lecture on homophily, the theory of homophily, the proximity, physical proximity, relational proximity, spatial proximity, we can understand that some people belong to same groups. They are attracted to one another. Maybe they have graduated from the same university. Maybe they share this common activities. Maybe their kids are friends. So all these communicative dynamics decide how these networks and clusters and sub-networks in any organization are formed. Now, what are communication networks? Communication networks or emergent structures. What are emergent structures? They are emergent in the sense that, okay, let's take an example of your final group project. A network of interactants or users who are talking about the same hashtag. Let's say خليك في البيت, stay at home. What are they talking about? If you go right now, you would see that they are 1,500 users and there are 5,000 tweets, messages about stay at home. If you come after 5 hours, you would see that the number of users has increased and the number of messages went up. So that is emergent. These networks are emerging. The same thing in organization, they are emergent structures. We have small team. Tomorrow we have another member. Day after tomorrow, maybe after 1 year, we have a new member joining in, from a department of 10 employees to 11 employees. So these networks are not always static. They are emerging. So, and they are defined as sets of overlapping dyadic linkages occurring when individuals communicate with organizations and between organizations. These are some of the sources that you can refer to. Now, if you ask anyone, I got this one from the following source. I didn't design this, so I just want to give credit. If we talk about organization, we talk about organization like traditional functional organization structure. The functional organization structure, you have like org chart, organizational chart. You have a manager, you have a, let's say, finance manager, director or HR director. This reports to this and this reports to this. And you have different people, sub-department that report to these guys directly. Yes, that is interesting. However, in 2020, right now, when we really look at organization, believe me, probably, okay, this is true. This is like a structure of organization, the authority structure. But when it comes to daily interaction in your organization, it doesn't work this way. You would see that this guy seeks an advice from this guy. This person here discuss with this one, and this one seeks an advice from this one, while this one has power over his subordinate, but also might seek advice and do voting to take decisions. So basically everyone is connected with everybody else. Now this is the actual dynamic of organizations. If this guy did something wrong over here, so meaning that yes, in reality there is like a formal structure for decision. However, in reality, we see that the actual life is that probably, for example, this person over here, if he makes a mess, okay, all of these guys will be impacted, you know. It might even cause that this guy to be fired. So basically, the real life in organization is not only the formal organizational structure as you can see here. Okay, so basically, the actual organizational network and sub-networks look like this one here, as you can see from here. You can see that this is an entire network. So this is the actual network, the hierarchy in any organization. It is not. It is unlike the formal one you have here, and then you have subordinate here. You know that, yes, that is true, like for protocols and procedures, but the true life of organization look like this one. Okay, so now what if I ask you, what do you see here? If you give this to any person who did not who is not introduced to SNA, social network analysis and communication networks, might not be able to read this sociogram. But since you have been introduced to several concepts of network, now you can see what is happening here. Now, if I ask you what do you see here, you can see that they're colored by it. This is an entire organization, is colored by office. Executive and administrative, finance, HR, IT are in purple. Okay, so basically these guys here are HR, finance, and IT. Now, why? Let's see. Let's try to unpack this. You can see that there's heavy traffic over here. So if I ask you what is this, you might be, oops, it might be, maybe this is HR, because HR is a service department in which many people get service from there. HR serve many clients, finance, IT. Every time people take leave, you know, training, nomination, promotion. So basically developing capacity building. So that's why you can see heavy traffic here. And probably this number here, number 12, you can see maybe this is people is the manager, where people actually, let me zoom that so you can see, maybe that this number 12 here is a person who everybody reports to, and maybe this was the focal point between this department and the other departments. And in this subcluster, maybe this is a finance department where this is the manager. You see, that's why people, these are reporting to him. And maybe this is an IT department. You see, now this is how, now knowing what you know from this class, maybe you can make sense out of this network. So now what connection between blue, let's say blue, green, and red. Let's see what is happening. Blue, green, and red. Why is that? This department is not connected with this one, and this one is not connected with this one. There is no connection. If there is a connection, maybe it is indirect connection. Now, can you answer to the question, what might that be the reason is? Why there is no interaction? Maybe these are different departments. They do not have frequent work together. But interestingly, if you want, these departments want to go to this one, you can see that this guy here, between this centrality, if you remember, can connect you to this department. Keep in mind that the most important thing in organization is not only to understand communication flow, but the source of that flow and the target. In doing so, you will understand organizational politics. Who talks to whom? The person who has information, how did he or she ended up knowing and you don't know? Because that person probably understands the politics of organization, the flow, the dynamic and the flow of communication from two. If you understand that flow, you will understand organizational structure and organizational politics. Now, if you understand spread of, take another example, spread of word, gossip. Is gossip good or not? Now, based on the organizations, based on the studies, 75 to 95 is all about office grapevine, you know. What now? People are talking about other departments, people are talking about other peoples in organizations. It is always that. Gossiping, you know, is happening everywhere. Who talks to whom? How frequently? About what? About whom? Based on what channel? Now, sometimes when you have that reciprocity, that you're gossiping with somebody else, and there is a level of reciprocity. Now, in other words, like what does the low level of reciprocity? By now you know what is reciprocal relationship. I seek an advice from you, and you seek an advice from me. So it is an agreement. So if that low level of reciprocity, what does it mean? What are the negative sides of low reciprocity? Now, here are some. If there is less reciprocal relationships in organization, I have a good connection with this and that employee, but not others. So that can lead to less developed relationship, less stability among employees, lower levels of interpersonal trust, because there is an absence of reciprocal relationships. On the other hand, what does low level of reciprocity, what are the positive side? What are the positive sides if they are low level of reciprocities, low level of reciprocal relationships? The positive side is it is a sign of a number of weaker ties, meaning that now I can know who is not connected and who is isolated. Now I can find weaker ties, and we know from previous lectures about the strength of the weak ties, that the weak ties can open up possibilities of collaboration, can connect you to other classes that you haven't known before. Low level of reciprocity also can lead to greater control over flow of information. Okay, I don't want you to be very well connected with me. I don't want my relationship with this employee to be very strong, because then I want to have this control over the flow of information. So, but if you have a very good relationship with somebody else, there is a tendency of high level of shared information between two of you. Another advantage of low level of reciprocal relations is the less relational intensity. So I mean, there is less conflict, because less relational intensity, there is less conflict between two people or more. The last thing that I want to discuss in this lecture is, how do you evaluate the effectiveness of network? How do you know that now you have created an organizational network that is effective? You can evaluate the effectiveness of a network by following criteria: accessibility, flow control, integrativeness, then adequate distribution of network roles, then multiplexity. Let's discuss each one at a time. The first one is accessibility. What do we mean by accessibility? Accessibility is the extent to which organization members can interact with one another. You can interact. If you want to meet another employee in another department, you can easily access that person and talk to him or her. So there is no bureaucracy, you know. You can easily access people, hence easy access information. Therefore, these effective decisions can be made. Another criteria for effective network is flow of control. Flow control increases effectiveness when key decision makers are able to direct the quantity of messages flow, so to restrain the grapevine from rampant distortion of information. Sometimes you cannot leave into a communication in organization open, but you need to have a sort of control over the nature of that flow of information. Otherwise, if you don't control, if you don't like sort of governance, if you don't govern what kind of information should be disclosed and what information should not be revealed, you are leaving window for employees to grapevine, send false information, rumors, etc. Now, another is integrativeness. What is integrativeness? Is you also need integration, like other departments are integrated, is needed to counteract excessive fragmentation, breakdowns in information flow, and delays that may arise from intergroup competition or divisiveness. Sometimes you can see that, as you have seen from that, the network we have explained, if all clusters or departments are isolated, independent islands, then there is an issue of flow of information. And that's why people say, you know what, we don't work together. We don't know what is happening in other departments. We are reinventing. This thing has already been discussed in other departments. You see, because of that, you need to find a mechanism, integrativeness, to integrate all other departments. And then you need to have the role, you know, the players, all these nodes, they must have clear roles. What is the role of each player of that network? You need to distribute equally. The final thing, the final criteria of effective network is multiplexity. Is defined as the breadth of communication content exchange within a network relationship. Example, talking about innovation and personal topics at the same time. Sometimes you need group members. You know, multiplexity is like, I'm seeking an advice from you, and I'm working with you project B. Also, I'm playing soccer with you. So basically, there is a multiplexity of relationship. Seeking advice, playing soccer, working in a mutual project, working in the same office. Now, that is multiplexity. Now, the same, talking about innovation alone can be supplemented by talking about personal topics as well. So these are the 5 criteria for effective, to repeat them again, effective networks: accessibility, flow control, integrativeness, adequate distribution of network roles, and multiplexity. That's it for now. Stay at home and stay safe.